Welcome. Happy New Year. Um, my name is Kate Lynch, and this is our New Year's Day annual event. And I use the word sanctuary um, this year for a reason, and I'll tell you why. Because I was driving down to the retreat that we recently had, the compassion and gratitude, mindful gratitude and compassion retreat, something like that. Um, and I was thinking about, people talk about creating a safe space, and then that has kind of been eclipsed by the idea of brave space because we really don't know what is going to be to keep people safe. And if we're keeping one person safe, we might actually be causing harm to another person. So we don't, um, so like safety is so relative. And then I was thinking about how brave space, sometimes I don't feel like being brave, and that's a lot of pressure. So I was really, I had a long time to drive by myself, which I love. And I was really thinking about this and what I want to create. I wanted to create during the retreat, and I want to create this year is sanctuary. So this is a space where everyone gets seen, heard, honored, given space, and really respected within the confines of our shared values. So that's really important to me, that within this sanctuary, we know what to expect, right? We know what our kind of shared language and values are. And so that's the measure. And the main thing is we're not judging. That is the main thing that is important to me, is to not judge. And I was at my sister's baby shower. I have a much younger sister who's pregnant, and the one thing I wanted to say to her is comparison is the thief of joy. And for some reason, I wanted to bring that in here because so often this time of year, I hear a lot of, especially, I work a lot with parents of neurodivergent kids and neurodiverse people, and being in families that don't necessarily follow the same trajectory as everyone else, or being in a body that doesn't look like the ones in the media. There's so many ways, moving through life in ways that are different can trigger comparison, and it can feel really awful. So um, this is a space where we can be with those feelings. We can validate ourselves and our feelings. We can be a little vulnerable because we know we won't be judged. We will be held exactly as we are. We will be seen as worthy. We will be listened to, and we will be embraced and cherished. So if you're still here, I'm assuming that you are on board with that. So please reach your arms really wide. Take a deep breath in and give yourself a big hug, please. I know it is corny, but it feels really good. So receive the hug and also be the one giving the hug. Just take a moment to breathe. Notice which arm is on top. Now we'll again breathe in, embrace each other, and breathe out. Now the other arm on top. And start to sway a little side to side. You could be standing, sitting, whatever you prefer. Just with this hug, in this hug, sway side to side. Feel your spine as if it's a tree blowing in this wild wind, bending, breathe in the way that feels good for you. So here we are on New Year's Day. We're wondering what this next year will bring. And we might be a little introspective looking back. All right, come to center. Imagine you're peeling off those layers of this past year. Anything that feels gooky, right, that you want to just set aside, turn and set it aside. Look behind you, look back, right? Looking back behind you, look back. Take a moment to look back. What burdens am I carrying from last year? Take your back arm up, breathe in, reach toward the sky. Breathe out, lean over, reach it over, circle your top hand on your wrist. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't matter. Circle your hand the other direction. Just find a way that this feels good for you. All right, hold the side of your head and lift up and unwind so you're no longer twisted. Press your head into your hand a little bit. Notice how this shoulder feels. See, it's so hot in December. I'm already sweating. I can't even believe it. All right, release your hand. Pause for a moment. Just notice your two sides. A lot of times if we do something on one side and not the other, it'll give us a moment where we can be in our bodies more fully, right? We feel that asymmetry and we can be in our bodies more fully. Take a moment to now, again, look back. If you want to reach your arms up and then turn, you can, but we're looking back. We're turning the other direction and looking back. Who this year was here for you? Who supported you? And when you feel ready, start to reach your backhand up toward the ceiling or sky. Reach it over any amount that feels good and circle your top hand. Again, doesn't matter what it looks like on the outside. We want to feel some release through those side ribs. We want to feel some release through our hands and wrists. Circle the other direction. Okay, wrap your hand around your head and lift your head with your hand. Unwind your spine and press your head into your hand. So your head is staying upright, but you're creating this little bit of isometric pressure. So your hand keeps your head where it is. Take a breath here. So we're feeling this little bit of tension, and then we're releasing it. I'm going to tune in with an Om. You can join me if you'd like. You're welcome to put a hand on your heart or both. Well, if you want to jot anything down or simply breathe here, I want to ask you again, what burdens are you carrying from last year that you really don't want to bring into this year? Are you willing to lay them down, at least for now? So you might do something somatic, physical, that feels like you're shedding them, laying them down. We're going to do some shaking in a moment. Or you can write or draw, anything that helps you express. So before letting the burdens go, we need to know what they are. Does that make sense? What I've identified for myself is not enoughness. I'm really willing and determined to leave that feeling of not being enough behind me. There's just too much important work to do. When you are ready, you can jot down anyone who has supported you, and you can really think of this very broadly. And as you're doing this, if you want to start to rock your spine in a cat and cow motion, you can. Thinking of those who have had your back. And it may be that there's a community, like the Compassion Club, our community, our online live community. It may be that it's more of like a figure, like a spiritual figure or a pet. It does not have to be a human who's alive and in your life right now. So hopefully that helps for those who feel especially alone, right? There are a lot of us who feel quite alone right now. We might need to think more broadly about who has had our back this past year. All right. When you feel ready, you'll set down any writing or drawing instruments. It's totally on your time, but I would like to do 3 minutes of shaking. So this is a commitment. And you can decide whether you want to be standing, sitting, or lying down. I'm going to do it on my back. So almost like having a tantrum. And the commitment is to keep going. And then to find a place where you can really be still afterward in a relaxed way. So if you are going to stay sitting, just make sure that you have a way to kind of be rested, maybe have something at your back. If you're going to be lying down, that you have room to flop. And if you're standing, maybe you have a wall behind you can lean against, or at least feel steady and sturdy standing in stillness. So you know what's coming, and we're going to begin. So I'll let you know when we start. Just get yourself ready. I'll bring this closer so I can see. I still can't see it. The timer. Ready? I'm putting my hands and feet in the air. I'm going to start to shake. And you might shake your spine and your head as well. If you're doing this standing, you might shake one leg and then the other. Just have a little tantrum about the things that pissed you off this year, or didn't go your way, disappointments, injustices, plenty of those. You can flail. You can moan and groan, especially if you're alone. I'm going to kick my own butt. I'm going to kick the sky. I'm going to head kick. Just keep going. The point is to keep going. Just keep going. Wherever you are, kick. Move any part of you that hasn't moved yet. And keep going. So just so you know, that's 1 minute. So keep going. Keep going, keep shaking, shake everything. Have that tantrum. Dig deep for those things that really made you sad or mad this year that you want to shake off and shed. So often people think mindfulness and compassion are all love and light. But that's just gaslighting. What we need is a little truth, right? A little honesty and a little release. It's not that suddenly everything is going to improve through this, but our nervous systems will be more regulated and we can do more. If you're standing, maybe you jump up and down. Less than a minute to go. And you can change positions, it's fine. All right, last 30 seconds, I'm not going to talk. Just remember, you're going to be still afterward. And flop. Flop. Find stillness. Really deepen into that stillness for 1 minute. Notice your breath. Please start to scan your body, wherever you are. Soften. Notice any places of clenching. Go through and find those places of clenching and unclench. You might want to swallow and sigh. You might want to squeeze your hands into fists and release. You might want to shrug your shoulders and release. Make your toes into fists. We watched Die Hard over the break, and that was the thing I really took away from it was instead of, there are so many ways that I've said to scrunch your toes, and people don't get it, but if you think of making your feet into fists and then releasing and spreading them, that was what someone on the plane told Bruce Willis in Die Hard. All right. Notice any other areas of clenching, maybe your butt, your hips. Find ways to unclench. You might think of clinging to a riverbank, not knowing, right? There's so much uncertainty, clinging to that riverbank with fear. What if you let go and allow yourself to be in the stream? So I'm going to demonstrate a few different back bends that you could try. So we've done a little side bending, a little twisting. We're going to go into some back bending. So it could be that you sit in your chair and you arch and you round and you focus, even though you're doing cat and cow, you really focus on this arching. So you're opening up the front of your body. It may be that you want to come onto all fours for a little cat and cow. Really emphasizing that spreading from your pubic bone to your chin or your nose. And when you round into the cat pose, that you lift up your inner organs toward the ceiling, and then you let them go. It may be that you want to be on your belly. Maybe your knees are bent, lifting your heart, maintaining connection through the end of your spine to the earth while drawing your heart through forward and up. There are a lot of ways that we can play with this. And of course, some of you, I know your body quite well, and some of you, I don't know at all, right? What is appropriate for you, so you can really listen and find the right back bend for you. What would be fun? What would feel like a strengthening at your back while opening through your heart? So allowing the vulnerability to start to emerge while feeling that support and strength at your back. Strong back, soft front. So many ways to do this. Does not matter, right? You choose the one that's right for you. I saw someone after the shaking do something where they clasped their hands behind their back, feeling that lovely extension from shoulder to shoulder. Maybe you want to extend your arms and lift them up off your butt. You can do the sitting, standing. All right, and I'm going to invite you again to pause, wherever you are, really. If you can reach for something to write with, you can, and you don't have to. Just consider for a moment, what's possible this coming year? What's possible? So somatically, those back bends, they represent that, like hopefulness and potential. I want to demonstrate one more back bend while you're doing that. Maybe two. So I didn't do a recline back bend, but you can put something under your upper back and lie back over it. And if you're feeling a lot of overwhelm, you can put something under your butt. So it's just under your butt. Pelvis stays neutral, like a supported bridge. And that can really help with our heart rate if we're feeling a lot of overwhelm. But there's still this feeling of blood flow, of that sense of support at our back. When we feel most supported, most held, seen, heard, valued, that's when our creativity and our intuition is most fueled, most juicy. What's possible this year? I jotted down growth, impact, liberation, strength. Just don't hold back. When you feel ready to move on, I'll ask you one more question for now. Who is there with you a year from now? Who is there with you when you think of this possibility, this potential? And for me, that's easy. It's all of you. And I'll invite you to, when you're ready, if you want to stay seated, you can stay seated. You can cross your shins in front of each other, or if you're sitting in a chair, maybe it's one ankle across your opposite thigh. Some sort of hip in external rotation. So you're turning your hips out, either one or both. If you want to do this lying down, reclined pigeon. And if you want to do standing up, make sure there's not a blanket under you. Try a wall sit. You might not see my head with this. I didn't adjust the camera, but try a wall sit if you have a wall. Or you can do this standing, maybe touching something to help with balance. Cross the other ankle over. So how much strengthening, how much steadiness do you want to explore right now? How much do you want to challenge your balance? So do one side for a little while and then change sides when you feel ready, until you feel a sense of balance and steadiness. And if you can reach that foot, you can give it a little love. And let's finish up in the next few moments. So if you haven't changed sides yet, definitely change sides. All right, come to a neutral position, please. And if you can reach something to drink, you might want to take a drink. Take a sip of something. So, wherever you are, make fists, make them really tight. Squeeze those fists. Take your shoulders toward your earlobes. Draw your chin in, make a prune face. Take a deep breath in, squeeze. And as you breathe out, roar and extend your fingers far away from your ears. And do it again. Squeeze tight. And reach. And if you want to also make fists with your feet, with your toes, Scrunch your legs. Squeeze your pelvic floor and then roar. And if you are standing, if you want to take your feet wider, come into a squat. Do it again. Squeeze tight. And then reach far like you're trying to take up more space. Taking up more space, whether you're sitting, standing, or lying down. You're just taking up a ton of space. So there was a question in the chat, no idea how, but I don't actually know what the question was referring to. So I'm thinking of it in a really broad sense right now, and hopefully we'll get to the bottom of this. But in a broad sense, how do we make any change at all? How do we do this if it's just us? Right? It feels overwhelming and insurmountable. Bend your knees. If you are standing, you'll feel a little sense of groundedness to the earth. If you're lying down, you can put your feet on the ground. And if you're sitting in a chair, maybe you make sure your soles of your feet are touching the ground and you can really press into the ground. So the good news is we're not alone. And we have to remember that. Take your arms wide, breathe in, and breathe out. Wrap your arms around yourself and feel the hug from the outside as if you're receiving it from the universe, from others in this community, in this world who share your values. And keep that squeeze. Lift your elbows. And that might be enough, just lifting and lowering your elbows, or you might start to draw circles with your elbows. If you're lying on your back, you can feel the floor under you. And if you're standing, you can make bigger circles that take up a lot of space. And go the other way. All right. Notice which arm is on top. Come back to center. Lift as if you're peeling off whatever is holding you personally back. And bend forward. So if you're lying down, you're hugging your knees. If you're sitting, you release between your knees. And if you're standing, you can keep your knees bent and dangle your head. So I want to make sure you know that there's not a one is better. There's no hierarchy. Lying down, sitting, standing. They all have their benefits. So you find what feels right for you in this moment. Okay, if you remember which arm was on top, you'll slowly come on up. Right? If you're standing, you'll come up slowly. You'll straighten your legs, reach your arms up, especially if you feel a little dizzy. If you're lying down, you might come back to that star shape. And if you're seated, you'll also come up. Okay? Other arm on top. I really can't remember. I'm going to do which one feels good. Lifting those elbows. Being the one hugging now, being the one who's strong and able to support the part of you that doesn't know yet, that is uncertain, doesn't have a clue how it's going to happen, how things are going to improve. And start to circle. Go the other way. Doesn't have to be exactly the same as the other side. Follow your intuition. When we unburden ourselves a bit from our tension, our intuition has more space to expand. There's that potential that starts to grow. Anytime, reach wide, come into that big star shape, take up a lot of space. And then find the forward bend. The forward bend helps us, somatically helps us look forward. Does not have to look any particular way. Just helps us look forward. If you're on your back and you want to be changing to on your side, if you want to sit on the floor and dangle forward, you can. Really find what works best for you. By the way, I love the question. I want to get deeper into it. It might have just been like no idea how to do that particular pose, too. So forward bend. Maybe swaying in your forward bend. If you're on your back, maybe you are taking one leg in the air, extending the other, and then switching. No right or wrong. Trusting your body to tell you what it most needs. Yeah. What longing has been living inside of you? That is ready to be more fully expressed. This is our sankalpa. It's tied to our values, our personal core values. It's not the kind of thing that can be solved in a week or in one yoga practice. It's something that has some stickiness to it because otherwise it'd be done, right? We wouldn't have a longing for something that we could easily snap our fingers and take care of. Feel free to find your way out of any forward bend you've chosen. To notice what wants to come out on a page or sit with in reflection. What does that sense of longing feel like? There's a tenderness to it. And when you hold that tenderness, as you would the hand of a child or a little bird, and give yourself that compassion, that empathy. Sometimes it'll tell you something. There's wisdom there. So what does your heart already know? Is there a word arising? It's always a little scary to look for the answers inside rather than out. But you already do have those answers within you. So I'll invite you to any kind of twist. I'm going to go for a reclined twist. So coming to lie down. I think a few minutes of rest would be in order. So starting that with a reclined twist. If you do have something to put your legs up on afterward, you might want to do that. And again, if you've got to go early, great. I am going to read a quote that I think you'll like, so you might want to stay a few minutes for that. And we do have more prompts, but I want you to feel permission to do what fits into your life. So go ahead and find your reclined position. And you might hug your knees. You might want to use a prop. As you take your shins or your knees to one side, you might want to put something either underneath your bottom shin or in between your shins or under your back shoulder. So that can make it a little more gentle. Make sure you can see me. And when we twist in this way, we want to feel like it's cascading along our whole spine. So if you feel it mostly in your lower back, shift it, change it up. Maybe bring your knees closer, or you use more props. Another thing that helps me to bring the twist higher up is to briefly do a back bend in my upper back. So I'll take my hand onto my back shoulder to put a little weight there, and then take a deep breath in and lift the place between my shoulder blades toward the ceiling. And then sigh it out and release. And then might just take the twist a little higher in your spine so it starts to move into your thoracic spine, which is where your ribs hold on. And really make this your own. So we'll stay a little longer on this one side. You're welcome to extend your top leg, maybe circle your foot. I'm going to talk you through a little eye work, which can help us release some stuff, right? Stuck mental stuff, mental and emotional. All right, so in the direction of your back shoulder, away from your knees, you'll look and you'll find one spot that you can glue your eyes to. So I'm looking toward my wall. I'm just going to find my lovely blue wall. I'm going to find one spot that I can keep my eyes on. I'm going to remember to breathe as I start to turn my head and continue to look at that spot. So I'm turning away from the spot and my eyes are glued to that spot. So I'm looking out of my peripheral vision for as long as I can, and when I can no longer see that spot, I'll turn back and look at it again. Now make sure you're breathing as you do this and try it for 3 times. If it feels weird or dizzy, the good news is you're already lying down. And of course, if it feels like a lot, do less. And if you prefer to stay seated in a chair, you can absolutely do this seated in a chair. You just find one spot on the wall to stare at. All right, I'm done. I'm going to take my back forearm over my eyes. Let my elbow crease kind of go right over the bridge of my nose. And let the pressure of my arm provide some release to my optic nerves and the bones around my eyes. And then rather than going right onto my back, I think I'm going to come onto my side for a moment. Just pause and notice how my back feels before changing sides. So now I can grab that cushion. You might have a different prop and start to move on to the second side. So please take your time. Once we get there, settle in. You might adjust those props because this side is different. Make it your own. If you liked that feeling of lifting the back of your heart toward the ceiling for a breath as you inhale, letting go and releasing closer to the earth as you sigh, you can do it. Feeling as we drop into the sense of support a little more, the sense of feeling held, valued, seen and heard, just that little bit more.
that the twist starts to feel really organic, right? Like it's just slowly spiraling up from the very end of your spine up through the crown of your head. And then we'll do the same little eye exercise on this side. So you'll look towards something that's away from your knees, one thing you can stare at comfortably. Try to remember to keep breathing as you do this, keeping your eyes glued there as you turn your head away, 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 until you could no longer see that thing, and then turn and look back at that thing or that spot. Do it again. Remember to breathe. If it doesn't work out perfectly, don't worry about it. This is why they call it practice. I'm going to take my back arm, and when you're ready, you might try this forearm rest, kind of bent elbow over bridge of nose, allowing that heaviness to release any tension in those eyes, eye sockets, optic nerves. Our eyes work so damn hard in our modern culture. Okay, taking your time, moving to your side or straight to your back, whatever you prefer. All right. When you get to a place where you can rest fully, maybe you wrap yourself up. Have a sense of coziness. This is Thich Nhat Hanh, who was a mindfulness teacher of high regard, spiritual leader. If you continue to exist as an individual and think that happiness is an individual matter, you will not succeed. When you have put your roots down in each other, the feelings of isolation and loneliness will be transformed. You're no longer merely an individual. You carry in your heart all your sisters, brothers, and ancestral teachers. And I would add that you carry in your heart the potential to make this world more kind and inclusive. And that is why I do this work. Notice any clenching, any rigidity, and think again of that riverbank. Letting yourself go and be carried along. Trust that you'll be carried along. might be choosing to continue to rest, or to start to yawn and reach like a cat yawning, stretch and lengthen. Make your way to any comfortable seat. But there is no better or worse. If you'd like to take a sip of something, I thought I was going to have a cold drink, a hot drink, but I chose an iced chai. I have a few more prompts. And these are just to kind of make concrete what feels the most important to us right now. You may want to skip this and just be in the unknown and the potential right now. And if you prefer to do that, sit and breathe. And one of the things that happens at the beginning of the year is there's so much feeling of potential. And we make all these plans, right, of change and change and change. And then we don't set up enough structure and support and make concrete what those are. So I'm kind of anti-resolution. Maybe you are too, or maybe it's just a word and it means what it means. But that sense of longing can really live in us very deeply. That sankalpa and that more feeling of potential and growing into that potential slowly over time. So there may be ways that you can take very small steps that start to set you on this path, whatever the path is. Just go in. Is this the direction? Like making this choice right now, today, is this the direction that is toward my sankalpa, my intention, my longing, my word? And just keep checking in with that. But you might ask, what will this look like in my daily life? What little shifts? Or what will I continue? What is helpful toward this desire, this longing, this intuition or intention? And you might have a first step that you'd like to jot down. And at some point I heard a statistic about mid-February is when people usually have given up on their resolutions, which made me very sad. So what is going to help you continue throughout the year? Maybe there's a gentle accountability or something you can put in place. Community. So jot that down. So I end every practice with Om Shanti. Shanti means peace, Om means totality. You can listen or you can join. You can put a hand on your belly, hand on your heart, whatever feels right. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. I want to wish you peace, wish you the ability to spread peace in your way and share your gifts. And I want to invite you to join us in the Compassion Club for January. If you've done this practice, then you have an idea of what we're about here, what we do here, because it's not that different. Sometimes we get a little more active, sometimes we do self massage, sometimes we are, on Mondays, we practice mindfulness and self reflection. We do a little check in. On the first Monday of the month, we do a monthly focus practice, and then on Wednesdays, we do a shorter flow. On Saturdays, we really weave it all together: community, connection, flowing practice, deep relaxation, meditation. So you have three. Thank you for joining us. You have three opportunities a week to come live. You have replays, other ways to connect with me. So either once a month, you'll have a 20-minute check-in with me that you have access to. There's never any obligation, of course. Or every 3 months, every quarter, you can book a 60-minute private yoga session with me. So it's a lot of value. And then there are some bonuses inside that I usually sell for between $35 and $85. They're courses. One for sleep, restorative yoga, polyvagal pranayama, which is a breath practice. Thank you so much, Sarah. And I'd love to check in more about the question you had, or the what you had put in the chat. Thank you so much to all of you for joining, and those of you who are inside the Compassion Club, if you're still here, if you want to say anything about it. But I do want to mention before like we sign off, that I am offering something that I've never offered before, which is like a no strings attached month for $9. It's normally $85 a month for $9. It does not continue. It's just for 1 month. And I'd love to have you join us and try out the Compassion Club. And really don't see any downside to trying it out for $9 for a month. You get full access to everything, including the 20-minute one-to-one with me. So I'd love to hear questions, and if you're still here and you're in the Compassion Club and you want to say anything about it, just unmute. I'm going to... okay, thanks, Jules. Compassion Club, great way to stay on track with your intentions. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm trying to say. Thank you. It was great release to be here today. I'm just reading from the chat. Be well, everyone. Happy New Year. All right, I'm going to turn off the... I'm going to stop the recording so that you feel more free to unmute and speak up. All right, thanks, everyone. Okay, I'm back to read a quote. Once I turned off the recording, a couple people who are in the Compassion Club came on, and I was furiously taking notes, but I just wanted to share this with you because I think it's important. This member talked about the ways our culture cuts us off from each other. And the self-care that they've been practicing has naturally resulted in them being able to be more politically active than they have in years. Another member talked about centering on self-care, helping them step into truth, being gentle with others, but also standing tall and articulating their needs. So whatever it is that this year is going to bring for us, I do believe it's going to be easier if we can do it together. So please take me up on this offer to try the Compassion Club and come live this month. Just see if it resonates with you.
See if it's the right time for you to take this step and be here with us, because we would love to have you join us. All right.